What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This week, we are introducing another project. That's right, guys, another project. I know. Behind me is a 1965 Lincoln Continental. You guys have seen this in the background of many episodes. A lot of people have been commenting on it. A lot of people seem super excited about it, and so are we, man. This happens to be one of the cleanest cars that might have come into our shop for us to tear apart. So, looks like to me we have a stock drivetrain. Is that what we got here, Andrew?
It's pretty much stock. It's got a couple little upgrades on the exterior of it. It's got a nice Edelbrock Performer intake, upgraded ignition system, and a nice aluminum radiator. But I think that's where it all stops. We've heard it run before and it sounds not so impressive.
What is impressive about this thing is that this engine compartment is huge. And that's good because we have something huge going into this thing.
What we have here, Michael, is a 2022 pull-out engine from a commercial Ford vehicle. This is a 7.3 liter Godzilla engine. It's backed by one of their 6-speed automatic transmissions. This thing from factory puts out 430 horsepower and over 470 foot-pounds of torque. It's not gonna stay like that for long though. We have some internal upgrades and some other exterior stuff that we're gonna put on it.
As Andrew said, this thing was in a Ford commercial van, which means it has a whole lot of clunky parts, like this clunky exhaust, these motor mounts, this mechanical fan, and this front drive accessory kit. So, as you guys seen in our PRI episode, I talked with the guys over at ICT Billet. They've come out with a really nice set of billet motor mounts. We're gonna be throwing those on. We're also gonna be doing a front drive accessory kit from Holley. And now that this mechanical fan's gonna be coming off, we're gonna be going with a full Mishimoto coolant system.
Yeah, so we're gonna be running dual electric fans from Mishimoto, as well as a 3-row aluminum radiator. Big engine, 7.3 liters. It's a very big capacity, so we're gonna need a lot of cooling system capacity to make sure it stays cool while we're driving this thing around and hot rodding.
Can't be cool if you can't control it. I know there's a whole lot of conversation out there talking about how to control these pull-out Godzilla motors. What exactly are we using to control this?
What we're gonna be using is something that we know, and it's tried and true. We're gonna be using Holley EFI unit. There are in development for a plug-and-play harness solution for this as well. It's not out yet, so we're gonna probably be going a different route with as far as the engine harness. But to control it, we're using Holley EFI. We're gonna be using a Holley EFI Pro Dash for all of our instrumentation. And to go along with all the engine management, we're gonna be redoing all the chassis wiring as well. We're gonna be using a pinless wiring kit to change out all the wiring, all the fuses, all the relays, to make sure all that stuff is up to par with all the new engine stuff. To control the 6-speed transmission, we're gonna be using a product that isn't on the market yet, but it is in development. Mass Motorsports is developing a transmission control for the 6-speed transmission that'll work with our Holley EFI unit. So hopefully by the time we're done installing everything, we'll have that in our hands to control it.
In true fashion of talking about everything that we use in our shop that is tried and true, we're definitely gonna be going again with the Restomod AC. This is the Haymaker. This is the biggest blower unit that they have. It's a huge car, which means it's gonna need a whole lot of air pushing through to keep everybody cool. And then we're gonna move on to suspension, man. We're definitely gonna need a beefier suspension. So we got a setup here by RideTech. It's got strong arms. As you see, these things are beefy. We have air shocks and these big, huge bellows to hold the weight of this front of this car. So not only is this car gonna be handling and performing great, it's gonna be tucking a set of brand new Vossens that they just came out with. I can't wait to show you guys those on this car. And we're not gonna stop there with the aesthetics of this thing. If you guys watched our Peel 3D episode, you saw Jeff scan the entire front end of this car. And he didn't just do that for fun, man. We're actually developing a custom grille with an LED light integrated into the grille. So I'm excited about that. And then we're gonna be jumping into the interior of this thing. Get those suicide doors, Andrew.
I got you, sir.
So you guys are obviously gonna say this thing is clean. Obviously these seats have been reupholstered probably very recently. It also has a pretty cool little console here with some speakers and a head unit. But we're gonna be tearing out this complete interior, and we're gonna be giving a full modern interior with bucket seats and a console, a brand new dash, the whole 9. So I just talked about a whole lot of work we got to do. Before we start that, let's talk about this week's sponsor. This week's episode is sponsored by Jegs Performance. If you noticed, we had a bunch of our Continental parts hanging out on a Jegs transmission cart, just like this one. That's because Jegs isn't just a supplier for go fast performance parts. They also have an entire catalog of tools and equipment to help you get the job done and get it done right. Jegs has been a trusted name in the racing scene since 1960. On the drag strip, the circle track, and just about everywhere you can find American muscle. The people over at Jegs aren't just employees, they're racers with a passion for cars, giving you an unrivaled experience when it comes to parts and gear. So if you're looking for parts on your next build, text WHEELS to 36727 to save up to $100 on your next order, or go to the link in our description, check out just how huge the inventory is. Thanks Jegs for sponsoring this week's episode. Now let's get back to work on that Continental.
So Kalel has been stripping down the 7.3 Godzilla engine, getting it ready for all the new parts and accessories. But as far as the actual Continental goes, the first step before we do any of the modifications is to rip all the old stuff apart. We're gonna slide this thing over to the 2-post lift, get it up there, start tearing this thing apart so we can get it ready to start fitting that big engine in here. All right, that was fun, getting this thing up here, just the two of us. Nice and heavy, for sure. And you know what I did not know about this car is that they're unibodies. I noticed that once we got it up in the air. Body and frame are one, so uni body. You can see all the modifications they did in the rear for the airbags that it had previously. You see the big airbag. Where this used to be a leaf sprung car, so the perch here and the perch here, and then it has 2 pivot points in the middle, and that's how it articulated to get the extremely low ride height. It's pretty cool. This thing had a true dual exhaust on it. But all this stuff's gonna go. Brand new Ride Tech strong arm suspension on every corner. Brand new airbags, upper control arms, lower control arms, steering knuckles. We're definitely gonna upgrade our braking system. Now we're gonna have over 600 horsepower under the hood. Definitely need bigger brakes. These drums are gonna have to go bye-bye. First order of business, we'll start getting the engine pulled out of this engine and transmission. So let's get to work. The old unit is out. We're gonna do a little pause for the cause, do a little cleanup, and then we'll get right back to it, start pulling out everything in the engine bay, cleaning everything up. Nice wide open engine bay for all kinds of big engines to fall into. So we've got the engine and transmission out now, radiators out as well. Now that's really all that's left is all the wiring, some small accessory stuff that no longer been needed, like this little mechanical low pressure pump, regulator for our alternator. A lot of the wiring is going to change for the lighting, pretty much everything. So I'm going to start pulling off all this small stuff that's here. Bunch of rat's nest of wires over there. You can see, I mean, all these cables are shot. Look at that. Look at that. Terrible. Melted, corroded, burnt, awful. So all that kind of stuff is gonna go bye-bye, and we're gonna get this thing looking right. All right, making progress in the engine bay. We've got all the accessory stuff that we don't need, fuel pump, regulator. We've also torn into all the wiring. Like we've said previously, we're gonna be doing all new wiring inside this Lincoln Continental. So we're chopping all this stuff back. We've got it all disconnected all the way up to the firewall. So now me and Dave are gonna move towards the rear of the car. The thing's on airbags already, and we're gonna try to air it up just so it's a little bit easier to work with and move it around when we need to. Next thing we're gonna do is start pulling the wiring through the inside of the car. So we're gonna move it off the lift and roll it back so we can get the doors open and have access to inside. We'll pull the bench seat out, start pulling the carpet back so we have access to the wiring and the fuse panel, and keep on disassembling. I've been talking for 2 minutes. Dave's already got the trunk completely apart. Animal.
No tools necessary.
We found these solenoids for all the pumps and stuff. They're way back here. I don't know if you can see, but we're gonna have to pull the back seat out, so let's go back inside. All right, there's all our solenoids tucked away nicely behind the back seat. So we should be able to power it up, air up each corner. So we're gonna do that just so we have a little bit easier access with the car. We'll just bring a battery over here and just tap some relays and we'll be all right.
We aired up the car, and it's still too low to
I
take.
still can't get the lift out,
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna have to still jack it up to swing these lift arms out. But probably roll easier now that the motor's not there. We haven't tried that yet.
That's for sure.
So
But yeah, this is all manually controlled. It's just got old school style solenoid valves, real big and clunky. Instead of having just like a main solenoid valve like all the new style stuff is with an electronic controller, we're probably going to be putting in an airlift management system in it and getting rid of all that stuff later on in. We're going to pull it off the lift, roll it back, get access to the front doors. We're going to start pulling out that wiring through the firewall and lifting up the carpet.
got this dash out. Well, there was no HVAC system in it, and you could see what used to be attached to the HVAC system. A bunch of vacuum lines, a lot of wiring.
Yeah, power door locks, power windows, power seats.
The creme de la creme of Ford technology in 1965.
Got the hard part out, this dash, and now we just have to pluck all the wires out from underneath here and keep it moving. Once we get the wiring out, I think we'll pull the steering column out, maybe the carpet, and then we'll be moving on. This car used to be orange, red? What is that color? Take a burgundy?
Burnt. Yeah, but
it definitely wasn't black.
so we have actually pulled every inch of wiring out of this car, and here is the result. Just a couple of wires. Takes a little more time to clean everything and start fresh, but in the end, you get a much better product.
We've got the 65 Lincoln all torn down. You saw me and Dave pull the engine, transmission out of this thing, all the engine bay wiring and all the accessories bolted onto the fenders and the firewall that we're no longer gonna be using. Then we moved on to the interior. And you can see it is stripped completely. Everything from the wiring to the dash, the carpet, all the seats. We started pulling out all the old air system. We still have our lines to pull out, but we also have the suspension to pull out as well. But we weren't gonna incapacitate the car just yet. We still need to move it around and make access to all of our other projects. We're gonna be moving on to mounting up our Godzilla engine and transmission. So all the fabrication is gonna start happening on this car. And as a quick update, we still have plenty of work going on in the background with our K10 and also with our 71 Chevelle, the twin turbo car. Plenty of stuff still happening in the background. You're gonna see more episodes on that real shortly. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so you don't miss on any of the builds that are going on here. Till next time, peace out.
Good enough for the president.
Yeah, it was good enough for Lincoln.
Hey,
Wait.
Lincoln.
I'm sorry.
Andrew's putting wagon wheels on this thing.